What's going on, everyone? Gilman with Wellthy Stocks, back with another video taking a look at Palantir stock today, ticker symbol PLTR. I'll talk about a reason why they are down a lot. We'll take a look at how their earnings were. We'll take a look at potential future catalysts and what that could mean for the company, as well as kind of a little bit of technical analysis on the stock itself to see if Palantir is a good company, or what I think about Palantir and what my plan with Palantir is. So real quick, if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to hit that like button down below, subscribe to my channel if you are new, and comment down below what your thoughts on Palantir are. And I'd love to chat with you guys down there. So let me hit record here on my computer and we will get right into it. So as we see here, Palantir did not have a great day on Friday. So the overall market was selling off with a little bit of a recovery, but Palantir wasn't really able to recover. But if we take a look at the 1 month chart, that's where we kind of see we went from, trading in the 30s, high 30s, now to the low 20s. So what is going on? Well, first things first, right? If we take a look at the market itself, NASDAQ 1 month chart, steep sell-off here. If we take a look at the S&P 500, it went from, kind of the mid 390s to as low as 371. So the first thing that we have to kind of keep into consideration is the overall market is selling off. The overall market was not looking too good these past couple of weeks. And a part of why Palantir is selling off is just largely due to everything selling off, right? Growth, big tech. The only thing that's really doing well is energy right now and travel plays like airline cruises and such. So that's the first reason to sell off. We can't ignore that. But the other reason that it's selling off was because, two reasons related to Palantir. The first one being they had an earnings loss in Q4 2020. So those earnings came out about a week or two ago, and analysts were expecting, X in earnings per share. It wasn't a huge number in earnings per share, but that ended up being an 8-cent per share loss. So they did beat revenue, but they did not meet the earnings per share requirement. They actually lost 8 cents per share. But when you dig deeper into that, a lot of that happened to be coming from stock compensation that they gave. So it wasn't necessarily anything related to mismanagement. It was stock compensation, which is not, crazy bad news. And the other thing is they had been growing about 40% last year, year over year. They said that they expected, that guidance, that forward-looking guidance, to now be 30%. So I think that's one of the reasons why it fell a little bit as well. So that was the first reason. Did not beat earnings. Still, I think had great guidance looking forward. 30% year-over-year growth is still absolutely great in my opinion. But it wasn't the 40% that we had kind of gotten used to seeing, and that combined, made it fall. The good news, though, is they did beat the revenue. They were expected with 300 million. They got 322, right? So that's something I want to quickly cover. I've covered it in more detail before. The other reason was that, for those of you guys that have followed Palantir, right, they had the lockup expiration period happen just this past, 2 weeks. And what that means is pretty much when the company IPO'd about 6 or so months ago, a lot of people were not allowed to sell their shares, right? A lot of the insiders that were holding a lot of their shares were not able to sell their shares until about 2 weeks ago. So we saw a crazy number of shares hit the market, which also caused a little bit of selling pressure on the stocks overall, which led to the stock selling off a little bit as well. The key thing, though, as I covered in my video from a few days ago, a lot of these insider executives that own a ton of shares, right? They're purely cashing in on some of those gains. That does not mean that they're bearish on the stock. That does not mean that they're not looking for the stock to go up. As a matter of fact, they're holding on to a majority of their shares in many cases, but they're still locking in some gains, right? As you would if you owned a ton of Palantir shares. So that's the second thing. Now, let's take a little bit of a look deeper, and this is more talking about why I really like Palantir, kind of what they've done just this past year and what they kind of have in store. So first things first, 1.1 billion in 2020, 47% year over year. So great growth. 322 million, that revenue quarter up 40% year over year. This is key, you guys. The number of new contracts that they've had with Rio Tinto, PG&E, BP, US Army, US Air Force, FDA, and NHS. This does not even include some of the stuff they had in January 2021, of course, with IBM, with 3M and their supply chain. So that's great. They're expecting Q1 2021 revenue growth of 45% year over year. So again, great continued growth, which is absolutely amazing, right? And if you keep reading into this, I think the thing that I really like is not only is their revenue growing up, but their revenue per customer is going up. And that's something that companies have to really capitalize on, right? Getting a customer is a part of the cost. And now how far can you stretch that customer? So if they can get, in this case, right, their average revenue per customer was $7.9 million, up 41% year over year. That's absolutely amazing. That means they're getting more money from the same customer, which goes to show you two things. A, people are happy enough that they continue to spend, and that B, you know, they're able to, I mean, it's two-sided is what I'm trying to say. Palantir is able to sell more, and these customers want more, so that, you know, is a good kind of combination of things to happen. So this is what I was talking about earlier, you guys. In 2021, right, we just said Q1 they're expecting 41% growth. Well, they said for the rest of the year they're expecting 30, and I think that was seen as a little bit of a downside, but I still think 30% growth is absolutely amazing, and I have no doubt that they could potentially even beat this number. And this, you know, keeps talking about more things. If you want to go, this is straight on Palantir's website, right? You could take a look at revenue numbers. You could take a look at all that stuff, which we're not going to go too deep into. So great news. This combined with kind of what we've seen already in 2021 with the IBM deal, with the 3M deal, I think they have great things in store. And actually another news that I saw over the weekend just now is that they released a new ERP with Amazon.com, the cloud service platform AWS, to be available for all AWS customers. And I think this is absolutely huge because AWS is the leading cloud service provider. So for Palantir to offer their service on the leading cloud service provider makes it accessible to so many more people, you guys. And it just kind of ensures that Palantir is going to be more available to people that are willing to use it. And if we want kind of proof of concept here, I was reading here, BP and Lanxess have already used it to enable cost savings within weeks. So they've used the Palantir Foundry data connector for ERP, right? So again, great proof of concept here. It's something I think that, you know, as they move into the future, they might even incorporate with more cloud platforms. But the fact that they started with AWS, which is the leading cloud service provider, is absolutely great to see. So cool. I just talked a lot. What does that mean for the stock price? Because the stock price is still going down. Like I said, a lot of those events, the earnings miss, the lockup expiration, were one-time events. And you combine that with the overall market selling off, right? That doesn't necessarily do wonders for the stock, right? So for those of you guys that have followed me for a little bit, you know what we're looking at here. We were catching this. Let me get rid of the indicators here for just a sec. We were catching this breakout, right? So it was trading in a little bull pennant. Broke out, went all the way to 45s, sold off, we ran into earnings, and then this kind of drop is the one we've talked about in this video, more related to, you know, earnings miss, lockup expiration, overall market weakness, which took us from trading in the high 30s to the mid 20s. And I've been invested in Palantir. So I actually, I'm down this week on my investments, but it also gave me the chance to add a little bit. Not saying you should, right? Always do your own research before adding. But let me talk a little bit about why I think, you know, for me, this is a pretty attractive level. I'm actually going to get rid of these lines because it's a lot to look at. And we'll just take a look at the chart here for just a second. So if we take a look back here, right, this is, the dates will be down here, but this is pretty much mid December and late December and early January when we saw this rounding out happen. The low point here on 1/4 was about 2250, okay? Which we're at 23.95 right now. And that's one of the levels, if I bring the lines back, that's one of the levels that we had on our chart. And what we see here is, you know, that's what we see here with 226, the low point here being 2270 as well. So 2250 I think is a great level of support. If we keep dropping beyond that, right, I think we go down to here, 2115. And then I think the absolute last level of support, let me bring my lines back for a second, is the $20 level, right? So 2250, which is where we dropped to this week, because that's also where we were before we started curving up in December, January timeframe. If we keep dropping 21, and then the last point that we dropped to on Friday is the $20 level. The reason I think this is great is because, look, even before this sell-off, we were trading in the 40s. I'm not talking about the 45 run-up we had this one day, but I'm talking the high 30s. If, you know, and I'm not, for those of you guys that watch my channel, I never tell you to load up because I think it's gonna double in a month. That's not how I trade. I like to look for high probability trades that I think are gonna work out with me in the long term with realistic expectations. Look, I think Palantir can easily double this year, but that's not the mindset that I'm gonna, you know, base all my trades on. What I'm basing my trade on right now is I like Palantir at these levels because I think a conservative target for this year in Palantir of the mid 30s, okay? I'm not even saying 50, I'm not saying 45. I absolutely think it can get to 45 and 50, but for me personally, my goal right now is $35. That's the first kind of goal, because that still implies a 50% upside from where we sit today, if it can do that in 2021. So it's got 8, 9, 10 months to go up, to go back to the mid 30s, which honestly, Palantir is a stock that can do that in a week. And if it does that, then I get to make 50% return on my money. So what am I doing? I've got 2 leaps going out to 2023, the $20 leaps. Added one this past week. I've got a $50 leap going out to 2023. I definitely think it'll get to 50 by then. And then I've got some shares that I've, you know, been slowly adding to this week. Look, I definitely am not gonna say the downside is done. The market's been weak this past week. As you could see on Friday with the S&P 500, we went all the way down to 370s and then we got bought up. Definitely think we could still see more weakness to come, but if you are a Palantir, you know, if you believe in Palantir long term, as I do, I think that, you know, this would be a great time to add. I do think we go maybe back to the 22, 21 maybe this week, okay, and that's not something that I'm worried about, because I don't care about what's going to happen this week. I care about what happens a year from now, 8, 9 months from now. That's kind of my goal with Palantir, is if it can get into even the mid to high 30s in 2021, which again is a very, very conservative goal. I think it can do that in a couple weeks if it really starts running. Then I'm going to make 50% on my money. That's what I'm going for. So again, the downside here into levels of support, we got the 2248 that we visited this week, that we also visited back in January. We got another level below that at 2150, and then we've got the $20.18 that we visited on Friday. On the upside, right, each of these lines, if you watch my daily videos, I'm not going to go through them in here, but that's kind of each level of resistance that we have to go through. So we don't go from 23 to 36, we go from 23 to 2539 to 2682 to 2805, right? That's the levels we go through to get to the mid levels. But for me personally, projecting a 30% growth over the company this year is what they're saying. I think they're going to beat that with everything that's coming out with Palantir. You know, I think once the market starts to turn around and once people get over the luck of expiration and the earnings, when you take a look at ARK Invest and how much they've added and their strong conviction on it, it just, you know, makes that decision a lot easier for me. So that's my opinion on the stock. Again, make sure to do your own research. I know a lot of people are going to say, you know, I think Palantir is going to go way beyond what you're saying, but I'm saying, and I agree with you, but what I'm saying is, even if it gets to this level right here, you guys, that it has been for a couple days, and it was there again in early February, even if it gets to that level, right, I'm making a 50% return. And then anything beyond that is just kind of gravy on top, because I'm probably still going to be holding on to those. So that's what I have with my Palantir kind of position right now. I've got shares, I've got a couple leaps, and holding strong because I'm kind of waiting to see what comes. Not saying the downside is done. The market has been weak. The market could continue to be weak. But if you don't have any short-term positions, you don't need to actively manage them. If the Qs now, as they were on Friday, they broke this 299 line I had drawn for myself, but they quickly recovered. If they break that and keep going down, I might consider exiting some of my positions. But until then, diamond hands, baby. That's what, you know, the kids nowadays call it. So that's what I'm doing right now. Hope you guys are, you know, doing all right. This was a pretty bloody week, I know, for a lot of us. That's okay. We'll bounce back. Hopefully the market turns around for us soon. If it doesn't, hopefully you're in positions that you're able to manage and not on super high margins where you're getting margin calls. So that's all I had for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to drop the like, subscribe to my channel, comment down below what your thoughts on Palantir are, and I'd love to chat with you guys down there. Let's remember to be a bit better every single day, and until next time.